Hello and welcome to another edition of Warehouse Wednesday. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 1926 AJS G8. You know, it's a perfect example of our museum collection policy, which is looking at bikes whether they're made for restoration, conservation, or preservation. Let me go ahead and break that down for you a little bit more. So conservation is using restorative techniques to bring a motorcycle back to its historical context. So we want to bring a bike to a very specific moment in time, such as a race bike on its winning day. Now, preservation is using non-invasive restoration techniques to bring a bike back to its unrestored condition. So a great example of taking new dirt off, leaving old dirt on. This is a great example of preservation. Now, restoration would involve full reconditioning, new old stock parts, bringing the bike back to better than it was. So typically these are bikes you would see at concours. They usually involve a lot of research and a little bit of interpretation with that research as well. As you can see here, this bike is unrestored and in its original condition. We are the third owner of the AJS Bigport, and the previous owner made some slight modifications to make it a daily rider in the mid-90s. Cosmetically, it has some nickel plating that was redone on the exhaust from the previous owner, but other than that, it remains as much original condition as possible, including original paint. This bike is not meant to be an example of perfectly reconditioned G8. It is meant to show the longevity of the motorcycle, almost a century. It is a beautiful example of an early English flat tanker that carries much of its classic styling from the bygone era of motorcycling. It is simplistic, it is rigid, but above all, it is beautiful. As you can see, the G8 is an air-cooled, single-cylinder four-stroke with push rods that operate the overhead valves and a Binks carburetor. The bike rides low on these 26-inch wheels and have a Druid-style front fork with a rigid rear end. The 3-speed transmission is operated by the hand shift on the right side of the tank. You may notice that the tank is sandwiched between the tube framing, giving it that classic English look, very similar to the Royal Enfields and Sunbeams of the era. In all, the bike weighs in at a lean 274 pounds and can comfortably cruise at 60 miles an hour. The Model 8 remained a production unit until the matchless takeover in 1931. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching another episode of Warehouse Wednesday. Again, tell us what you think in the comments, and please join us next week for another edition.